Good day. So I'm Ricardo, and today we're gonna discuss together with my group about the six core of claims of globalization. This topic was assigned to us to report, and let's continue to the presentation and explain on what the six claims are. So our objective is to identify and explain the six core claims of globalization. The claim one. The claim one is the globalization is about the liberalization and global integration of markets. So basically, globalism borrows heavily from both ideologies, which is very clear, liberalization and the integration of markets, and it would be a mistake if either one of them is missing. So in the first paragraph or the first sentence, it means that globalism runs in the ideology of both liberalization, which means freedom and to be free, or to be free and uh, global integration of markets, which if you combine it would mean that government would minimize the different rules and regulations or laws uh, restricting the flow of market. So basically it will be a free market. So claim one offers an authoritative definition about globalism and relacking its two core concepts and then linking them together, both liberty and integration. So there is the root word of the said in the first sentence, liberty, which means freedom, as you can see in the Statue of Liberty in the United States, it's freedom, and integration. So in general, it's been said that neoconservatives agree with the neoliberals on the importance of both the free market and free trades, but they are much more inclined in the latter to combine their hands of attitude toward big businesses, of course, who can resist having a big businesses, with intrusive government action for the regulation of the ordinary citizenry in the name of public security and traditional values. And in foreign affairs, neoconservatives advocate a more assertive and expansive use of both economic and military power, although they often embrace the liberal idea of promoting freedom and democracy around the world. So as you can see nowadays, especially the United States, where the military power is off the roof, basically they are constantly improving the military power, but that does not mean that they want a war. They also promote liberal idea of democracy and freedom. So freedom covers the scope of this claim one. Meanwhile, democracy will be presented or reported to you by other reporter later on. So in order to understand more how we got here about the six core claims of globalization, we are going to generalize or break the three factors which is having the six core claims with it. So the three factors to consider in understanding the uniqueness of the morphological specification of globalism is number one is the centrality of the concept globalization. So from the word centrality, it means that no other ideology is centered on the notion of shrinking time and space. Number two is the conceptual shift of market from the adjacent or peripheral location in liberalization and conservatism in globalism's conceptual form. And number three, which is our topic, is the formation of the highly original ideological claims, 6 high. So basically, these 6 core claims is what we also call the contestation chains. So the next slide. In here, we can see Thomas Friedman with his famous quote or famous saying that the driving idea behind globalization is free markets. So basically, it just summarizes on what claim one really means. From the word liberal, the integration of markets, we have the word free markets, free trades, which leads to improvement and big businesses. So another saying or another word, another quote from Business Week. Globalization is about the triumph of markets over governments. Both proponents and opponents of globalization agree that the driving force today are markets, which are suborning the role of government. So that basically speaks the truth in what's happening today. But there are some countries which is markets are being controlled totally by government. But in today's reality, markets really circulate faster in the government. Imagine your a dollar traveling from both continents. So that is very that is a proof that market really circulate itself or it's a self-serving role. So basically, but that does not mean that the government has no use at all. But it only means that markets runs on its own, and that is is no one is in control of it, and it somehow undermines the government because of its fast-paced circulation and leading to fast improvements in different countries, both improving countries and improved countries, which are which still has a room for improvement. So since this last line focuses on how in treating the market as the driving force today, so let us define what truly market is. So market, of course, plays an important role in two established ideologies: the libertarian variant of liberalism, often referred to as often referred to as neoliberalism, which I mentioned earlier a while ago. It is inspired by the ideas of Herbert Spencer, Friedrich Hayek, Milton Friedman. And the late 20th century brand of Anglo-American, there comes out the conservatism or the what we call neoconservatisms associated with the views of Kit Joseph, Margaret Thatcher, and Ronald Reagan. While globalism borrows heavily from both ideologies, from the neoliberalism and neoconservatism, it would be a mistake to reduce it to either. So, from the word, the liberalization is we can see it from the word neoliberalism, and from the neoconservatism it comes from the word integration of markets, which it's somehow related to neoconservatism. So it is treated to be part of the two ideologies. So basically, these two ideologies, as what I've said a while ago, should not be break or should not be mistake to get one out of it, because it would be not possible to not combine these two ideologies. So by forging a close semantic link between globalization and market, globalists like Friedman seek to create the impression that globalization represents primarily an economic phenomenon, thus unburdened from the complete complexity of its additional non-economic dimensions, globalization acquires then the necessary simplicity and focus to convey its central normative message contained in further semantic connection to the adjacent concepts of liberalization and integration, which is the main uh, ideologies in this core in this claim, the claim number one. So semantic connection to the adjacent, the liberalization of markets from the state control is a good thing, as Joan Spiro, a U.S. Undersecretary of the State for Economic Business and Agricultural Affairs in the Clinton administration, has said, put it that one role of the government is to get out of the way, to remove barriers and to free the flow of goods, services, and capitals. So the liberalization of the integration of market. So basically, the government is assigned is one role of the government is to get out of the way in the globalization. So on the circulation in the market globally, basically from that, uh, the government can see results like uh, a rapid improvement due to the free flow of goods, services. But there are also countries that are restricted, and basically the globalization is under the hands of the government. And for that, that would be all there is to know about the claim one. That or that are the things I said a while ago, and currently is the things you need to know on how the first claim or the first claim affects globalization, and also how the integration of both ideologies affect the rapid improvement and provide free services and goods to all.
Good day everyone. I am the Cadet Paranleo Mark and I am from Group 2. So, we are assigned to discuss or tackle the six core claims of globalization. And I was assigned to discuss the claim 2, which is the globalization is inevitable and irreversible. So, first, let us define what is inevitable and irreversible. So, according on what I have read in the internet, inevitable is certain to happen or unavoidable, while the irreversible means incapable of being changed. So, globalization is meant to happen because it changed the global society so rapid that without globalization, the society can't go back with it was before. As you can see on my PowerPoint presentation, globalization is praised for bringing unprecedented prosperity, and the acceleration pace of globalization is having a profound effect on life in rich and poor countries and in transforming regions, which means that economic globalization comprises to increasing economic interdependence of national economies across the world through a rapid increase in cross-border movement of goods that was never been experienced or happened before, because as we all know, before doesn't have a world trade like ours today. The world trade has been the engine of globalization in last 50 years, and in the post-war years, more and more of the global production has been carried out by big multinational companies who operate across the borders, and because of that, even though small or poor countries have an opportunity to use or to buy the advanced technology that came from our rich countries. Because of the globalization, we are accelerating fast. On the second slide, it says that the economic globalization is an irreversible process because of the growth of the demands in every each globalized market, from the developed and also to the developing nations, and economic policies of various nations have have suppressed the impetus for their own economies to move forward, thus debunking theory of economic globalization as a primarily irrevocable phenomena. So in the last slide, it claimed to undermines the formation of political dissent. So public policy based on globalist ideas appears to be above politics. So leaders simply carry out what is ordained by nature. Since the emergence of a world based on the primacy of market values reflects the dictates of history, resistance would be unnatural, irrational, and dangerous. No doubt that the dangerous gamble of globalists to align seemingly incompatible concepts drawn from conventional ideologies around their key concept. Globalization has the potential to produce an immense political payoff. That's all. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kirby Corobes. I'm here to you to explain the claim tree of globalization. What is the claim tree? Nobody's in charge of globalization. It's meaning nobody can control them and no one is in charge of trading something or in globalization. The third mode of deconsisting globalization hinge on the classical liberal concept on the self-regulation. So what is hinge? Hinge is a connected to the liberal concept that can make trading by connecting it. So, what is liberal concept? Liberalism is a political and more philosophy based on liberty. Concepts of the government and equality before the law. Liberal also indeed mercantilist policies, royal monopolies, and other barriers to trade, instead promoting free trade and marketization. So, what is mercantilism? So, mercantilism was an economic system of trade that spanned from the 16th century to 18th century. Mercantilism was based on the idea of nation wealth and power were best served by increasing exports and is involved in increasing trade. So in 16th century and 18th century, if you want to trade, you go to other countries that freely, right? No one can no one can charge you. So the great beauty of globalization is that no one is in control, that I said before. No one control or in charge of it. The great beauty of globalization is that it is not controlled by any individuals and government, any institution by Robert Herzman. So no one can control the trading of marketplace. by individuals or government, like the like in this in our country, no one can control by the barangays or anything, because it's a free trade. It's a free trade of other person. We cannot we cannot control them. The most basic truth about the globalization is this: no one is in charge. We all want to believe that someone is in charge and responsibility. In so in this globalization, in trading, we need to have to responsible to how to trade, or in charge of it, that we can make sure that our trading is perfect and no one be angry. But in global but the global marketplace today is an electronic herd, often anonymous stock, bond with current trades and multiple nodes investor connected by screen and network. So, what is electronic herd? Electronic herd. So, the electronic herd is the managers who job from one country to other to find good investment or short-term partners. So, if you want to grow now, as a company, as a community, or as a country, you've got to plug into a herd, because only herd has the capital to grow. So today, you you not, you can use electronic now, like computer, to trade right now, and if you trade, the money will get in, and you will get it in compute in the bank, like that. Like in our century right now, it's easy to trade now because we have electronics right now, and it's very easy, and you can get the money for just 2 days, like that, after you trade it. So market are self-regulation, and it's better not to mess with them. So if you're making a trade in a market, you make know how what is the regulation of it, and you need to have to self-regulate yourself. Why? If you mess with them, you may mess other trading. It may destroy your company, because you you make mess of trading, like you want to trade your vegetable and you make it high price. Nah, it's not very easy, because it makes them uncomfortable, because when they buying other vegetable from other person, it's very low price, because they make it trade proper, make it the trade easier and more comfortable, because it may it makes many people to buy it. And that's all for the claim tree, and I'm thank you.
Claim 4: Globalization benefits everyone. This decontestation chain lies at the heart of globalism, because it provides an affirmative answer to the crucial normative question of whether globalization represents a good phenomenon. The adjacent idea of benefits for everyone is usually unpacked in material terms such as economic growth and prosperity. Monetary development and progress in the present brilliant world is bound up with the course of globalization. Globalization gives extraordinary freedoms to the future for our nations, yet for all others as well. Its numerous positive angles incorporate an extraordinary extension of speculation and exchange, the opening to global exchange of world's most crowded locales, and opening for more agricultural nations. Globalization is an established part of the modern world, so most of us do not realize the benefit it brings to our daily lives, such as easy access to new technologies and development by countries half a world away. Even though globalization makes our lives better, it does bring some challenges as companies start to grow and expand across borders. Cultural differences around the world are undeniable. These differences create hurdles for businesses entering foreign markets and necessitate changes to their daily business operation, whether it's employing workers in a new region or communicating the value of product to a new audience. The spread of technology and innovation. Many countries around the world remain constantly connected, so knowledge and technological advances travel quickly because knowledge also transfers so fast. This means that scientific advances made in Asia can be at work in United States in a matter of days. Access to new markets. Businesses gain a great deal from globalization, including new customers and diverse revenue streams. Companies interested in benefits look for flexible and innovative ways to grow their business overseas, and access to new talent, in addition to new market globalization, allows companies to find new specialized talent that is not available in their current market. For example, globalization gives companies opportunity to explore each talent in booming markets.
Claim 5. Globalization furthers the spread of democracy in the world. The fifth decontestation chain links globalization and market to the adjacent concept of democracy, which also plays a significant role in liberalism, conservatism, and socialism. A careful discourse analysis of relevant text reveals that the globalists tend to treat freedom, free markets, free trade, and democracy as synonymous terms. Fukuyama and Clinton agree that the globalization process strengthens the existing affinity between democracy and the free market. The extension of political democratization to economic and financial globalization is supported by democratic globalization. Through the lifting of prohibition on such transactions, they strengthen democracy by making leaders more accountable to the people. Companies can develop more cost-effective ways to create their goods as a result of globalization. It also boosts global competition, which lowers prices and provides customers with a wider range of options. People in both emerging and developed countries benefit from lower prices since they can live better on less money. And because of globalization, we can purchase cheaper goods and we can also communicate with individuals from all around the world. Importantly, globalization has expanded our understanding of one another by opening our eyes to different culture.
The claim that globalization furthers the spread of democracy in the world is thus largely based on a narrow, formal procedural understanding of democracy. The promotion of polyarchy allows globalists to advance their project of economic restructuring in a language of ostensibly supports the democratization of the world. It is claimed that globalization furthers the spread of democracy in the world, but it is largely based on a narrow, formal, procedural understanding of democracy. Well, I can really say that democracy was really spread through globalization, because without globalization, democracy would not have spread all over the world. And because of globalization, democracy was spread, and almost all of the countries in the world are now democratic countries. And that is an example of globalization. Polyarchy represents an elitist and regimented model of low intensity or formal market democracy. Polyarchies not only limit democratic participation to voting in elections, but also require that those elected be insulated from popular pressure so that they may govern effectively. Polyarchy, from the name poly, which means many, polyarchy means a form of government in which power is invested in multiple people. In globalization, polyarchy has its role, because polyarchy is an elitist and regimented model of market democracy, and they not only limit democratic participation to voting elections, but they also require those elected be insulated from popular pressures so that they may govern effectively. They insulated popular pressures to those elected so that democracy can be governed effectively. Because of this, it furthered the spread of globalization, because the people have seen the effects of democracy, and that is why most of the countries today in the world are democratic countries.
Claim 6. Globalization requires a global war on terror. This final deconstruction chain attests to globalism, political responsiveness, and conceptual flexibility. It combines the idea of economic globalization with openly militaristic and nationalistic ideas associated with the American-led global war on terror. Instructive example of the logical inconsistencies inherent in Claim 6 abound. Thomas Barnett's three distinct regions of the globe. 1. Functioning core or core. 2. Non-integrating gap or gap. Between these two regions, one finds seam states that lie along the gap's bloody boundaries. So this is the map. The Pentagon's new map. So Barnett, the importance of 9/11 is that the attacks forced the United States and allies to make a long-term military commitment to deal with the entire gap as a strategic threat environment.
Three main objects. First, increase the core system's capabilities for responding to September 11, like system perturbation. On the same states to firewall the core from gaps works exports, such as terror, drugs, and pandemics, and the most important, shrink the gap. The Middle East is the perfect place to start. The third point of particular importance, because the real battleground is the global war on terrorism, or still over here. As Burnett emphasized, we ignore the gaps of existence at our own peril, because it will not go away until we as a nation respond to the challenge of making globalization truly global.